For 60 years, the Jackson family has been the most famous black family in America. Nine children and a billion records sold. Michael alone earned more than most artists earn alive. But behind a huge family, no matter the success, drama still follows. Joseph Walter Jackson was born in 1928 in Arkansas. He grew up poor, but by the early 1960s, he was a crane operator at a steel mill in Gary, Indiana. He married Catherine Screws, and he notably had nine children he could not afford. He was also a failed musician. He had played the guitar in a local R&B group called the Falcons, so he turned his children into the band he could not be himself. The story of the Jacksons' Five discovery, the rags to riches version that Motown would later sell, leaves out what happened in the Jacksons' living room. According to nearly every member of the family, what happened was very blunt and straightforward. Joe was abusive. The most less gruesome story was Joe sitting on a chair with a leather belt on his lap while he watched his sons rehearse for up to 5 hours a day, and one of them messed up, he would hit them. Michael has numerous interviews where he speaks about the abuse. Often would he beat you? Like, it was no more than a belt. What else would he use to hit you with? Iron cords, whatever's around. Throw you up against the wall as hard as he could. Um, See, it's one thing to. But you were only a child. I know. You were a baby. I know. It's one thing to discipline. You were producing successful records. I know.
He know all of this shit.
The screaming, Joe, you're gonna kill him. You're gonna kill him. Stop it. You're gonna kill him. And I was so fast. He couldn't catch me half the time. But when he would catch me, oh my God, it was bad. Oftentimes not being able to fully process what he went through as a child. He has stated that just at the sight of his father, even as an adult, it made him physically ill. Joe Jackson did not deny the beatings. He told BBC in 2003, I whipped him with a switch and a belt. I never beat him. You beat someone with a stick. Michael said in a recent interview that he was frightened of you. He says that he was so frightened of you sometimes that he would be sick. Is that true? Well, I just knew about that when I heard it mentioned that on TV on Oprah Winfrey show. Um, I didn't know anything about him being sick, but regurgitating. But if he did regurgitate it, he regurgitated all the way to the bank, you know. The distinction between whipping and beating is something that Joe Jackson has minimized when it comes to the abuse of his children. It is worth saying that not every Jackson child has framed this the same way. Jermaine, Marlon, and Janet have all publicly credited their father's discipline for keeping them focused, for keeping them out of gangs, and for getting them out of Gary. Their version of Joe is a man who was harsh because the world was harsher, and his discipline helped them get results. But Michael never came around. Latoya never came around because to them, the abuse altered their life, good and bad. While Joe was building the Jackson Five, he was also building a second life. Sometime in the early 1970s, he began an affair with a woman named Sherelle Terrell. The affair lasted 25 years. In 1974, Sherelle gave birth to Joe's 10th child, Jing, of the elders at her Kingdom Pod church. Bonnie grew up in Las Vegas. She did not live in Encino with her half siblings. She was not invited to any family events, and she was not allowed at the Neverland Ranch. When the Jackson siblings appeared at Michael's trials, they appeared as a unit. Giovanni was not a part of that unit. Neither Michael nor Janet ever publicly mentioned her existence. In 2018, which was
Bro, I'm hungry as fuck. Like, I am so hungry. Like, I am starving. Literally, I'm hungry as fuck. Like, I had to order something to eat because if I don't eat now, I'm not gonna be eating for 24, more than 24 hours tomorrow because I don't eat when I'm at school. So I just had to order something to eat. But I'm hungry, bro. I just ordered Taco Bell. Like, they haven't picked up my order yet, but I'm really fucking hungry though. Like, I haven't ate since 12 o'clock. It's 11 o'clock, so I ate 12 hours ago. Shit is dumb.
Was 43 years old, Giovanni released a memoir titled Bastard Child. While she was excluded from the family unit during trials and public events, she did eventually visit Neverland Ranch once when she was 29 years old. She described the meeting with Michael as very
You're
cold.
not listening correctly.
He was fascinated and kind to her daughter Yasmin. The coldness she received from her siblings does have to do with how she was parented by Joe versus how the other siblings were. Growing up, Joe ran a very strict program for the Jackson kids. He famously demanded that the children call him Joseph rather than dad or daddy, whereas Giovanni was soft parented as a child and had the luxury of referring to him as her dad and receiving better treatment.
It's also interesting. I didn't in this book you talk about how some Joseph he didn't want anybody to call him dad. Why?
Well, he said to me, you know, I never asked why. Left it at that. But I never asked my other brothers and sisters why they didn't call him dad. But I told him I tried for me to call him dad, and he looked at me. He said, "My name is Joseph. You call me Joseph. I'm Joseph." And that was it.
In the book, she describes her father visiting her and her mother in secret and warning them to never call the Encino house. By 1975, the Jackson Five had left Motown for Epic Records. They lost the rights to their own name in the lawsuit that followed and rebranded themselves as the Jacksons. Michael was 17 and starting to get famous on his own. Considering he missed the most important parts of his developmental years, he also had never been alone with a girl. His first reported girlfriend was the actress Tatum O'Neal. She was 12 years old when they met and he was 17. She was
What?
the daughter of actor Ryan O'Neal, and she had just become the youngest person in history to win an Oscar for Paper Moon. And in his 1988 autobiography, Moonwalk, their friendship would be talks for.
That's suspicious as fuck. That is not a good look. And I love Michael Jackson to death. But you was dating a 12-year-old girl at 17. Yeah, that's kind of suspicious. And I'm not saying that he did that to them kids, but that right there, I never knew that. I never knew that at all. That's some suspicious shit right there.
Gossip columns. Years later, both of them were asked about it. Michael's version, as he told it in interviews, and in his 1988 autobiography, he came over to her house one evening because he had been in a girl's
Can you
bedroom.
get away from me?
They kissed
We
briefly,
not
and
even
he
the
said
same
every time they
color. We not even the same race.
it was better than anything.
First girlfriend, who I really loved a lot, was Tatum O'Neal.
Was it a typically romantic adolescent love affair?
Yeah, it was. But I don't think I was ready for some of the things she was talking about. I was pretty naive. I'm not joking. I hope she forgives me for telling this story. You know, please forgive all the sexual stuff. So I'm scared to death.
So she rings you and says, "Michael, come to my house. I'm going to make love to you."
Yeah,
And you're really scared.
I'm scared. Scared because I've never done anything like that. I came over there trying to be Mr. Big Shot and brave. I remember she cut off all the lights in her bedroom, opened the curtains. You could see the whole skyline of the city over the cliff. It was beautiful. And she told me to go over and lie on the bed, and I did. I laid on the bed. She slowly walked over, and she touched the button on my shirt to open it. I did my hand like this. I wouldn't let him down. And she just walked away. She knew I was too shy for it. That's what happened.
Did you not feel
Jesus, I got the hiccups.
I think I was ready for that.
But Tatum O'Neal's version said that they were never really a couple. In her 2004 memoir, A Paper Life, Tatum offered a detail that explains why Michael remembered the handholding as magical, while she had the opposite point of view. She actually found it awkward. She said that Michael was so shy, he was almost paralyzed by the idea of being alone with her. like she had to be the adult in the room despite being 5 years younger. In 1983, the youngest Jackson brother, Stephen Randall Jackson, known as Randy, was dating a model named Bernadette Robbie. Bernadette was a friend of Tina Turner's. The two women were close enough that when Bernadette got in trouble, she went to Tina's house. One evening, that's exactly what she did. According to Tina's longtime personal assistant, Eddie Hampton Armani, who later wrote about the night in his 1998 memoir, The Real Tea, My 22 Years with Tina Turner, Bernadette arrived at Tina's house in tears. She told Tina that Randy was on his way and that he was going to hit her. Tina Turner had spent 16 years married to Ike Turner. She knew exactly what kind of
Bruh.
man this was about to become. She told Bernadette to stay inside and to leave Randy. Randy arrived and he was buzzed at the gate, but was denied entry. Now, according to multiple later accounts, including Randy's own, he climbed the fence, picked up a flower pot from the patio, and threw it through the window, and then crawled over the broken glass. Tina went to her, she would blow his brains out. Then she fired. Randy himself posted on Twitter when a fan asked if the story was true. He wrote, "Yes, Tina Turner shot me. I have the scar to prove it." Tina Turner never publicly addressed the incident, and she never pressed charges either. Bernadette went on to marry the boxer Sugar Ray Leonard. On November 30th, 1983, the Jackson brothers held a press conference at the Tavern on the Green in Central Park. They announced a 1984 reunion tour. The promoter standing next to them, the man who had fronted $3 million to make it happen, was boxing promoter Don King. All of this was Joe Jackson's idea. Joe had been put
Okay.
out as Michael's manager. He saw the Victory Tour as a way back in. He brought in Don King, a man with no concert promotion experience, but with a willingness to pay, and the tour was on. The first scandal of the tour was a ticketing system. To prevent scalping, the promoters announced that the Victory Tour tickets would only be available through a mail-in lottery. To enter, you had to click
I need some lip chat.
local newspaper, fill it out, write a money order for $120, mail it in, and hope your name got drawn for 4 tickets. The tickets were $30 a piece. In 1984 dollars, that was the most expensive concert ticket in American history. Now, adjusted for inflation, it was roughly $85 per ticket today. Now, today, those tickets are considered very cheap, but back in the day, that was considered widely greedy and selfish. Now, according to the press, they
His
accused
daddy.
the Jacksons of pricing out black fans who had built their career. Later that year, Michael went public and announced that all of his earnings from the tour would go to 4 charities: the United Negro College Fund, the Michael Jackson Scholarship Fund, Cancer Alliance for Terminally. But by the time the Victory Tour ended, Michael had told his family it was over. Listen up. I'd like to say this is our last and final tour. And I think this is our farewell tour. Y'all have been wonderful. It's been a long 20 years, and we love you all. That the Jacksons would never tour as a unit again. The financial damage spread further. The tour's promoter was a man named Chuck Sullivan. Sullivan's father, Billy Sullivan, owned the New England Patriots. The Victory Tour lost so much money that the Sullivans had to sell the Patriots to cover their debts. On the afternoon of January 27, 1984, Michael Jackson was at the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles filming a Pepsi commercial alongside his brothers. They were rehearsing a number set to Billie Jean. Michael was supposed to descend a tiered staircase as pyrotechnics fired behind him. On the sixth take, the pyrotechnics fired early. A fireworks shell ignited too close to Michael's head. The grease in his hair caught on fire, and for several seconds, Michael continued performing,
I'm
not
just
knowing what
chilling.
was
I don't have
happening,
nothing to
until
talk
the
about.
bullet swept across the back of his scalp. Bystanders threw a jacket over his head. He was rushed to Brotman Medical Center, and the diagnosis was
Watching this
second-degree
documentary.
injuries. According to some sources, the burns went deeper. There was a bald patch the size of a fist on the back of his head. Pepsi ended up paying Michael $1.5 million in compensation. He ended up donating the entire sum to the Brotman Burn Center, which named a wing after him. The most important consequence from that day was the prescriptions. To manage the chronic pain that followed, Michael was put on a series of painkillers, which caused him to form a dependency
Yep.
that would follow him years later. That same year, while Michael was recovering, the Jackson family was preparing for a disastrous reunion tour. The brothers were rehearsing in Los Angeles, and the choreographer they hired was a young woman who had been working as a Laker girl for the past few seasons. Paula Abdul. Now, according to a 1995 memoir titled Jackson Family Values, written by Margaret Maldonado, who at the time was a long-term partner of Jermaine Jackson, Paula began an affair with Jackie Jackson during those rehearsals. Now, Jackie was the eldest Jackson brother. He was also married. His wife was Enid Span Jackson. Now, according to the book, Enid heard about the affair, drove to the movie theater in LA, where Jackie and Paula were on a date, and physically dragged Paula out the passenger seat of a Range Rover and across the parking lot. Jackie tried to stop her, and Enid got into her car, put it in reverse, and ran over Jackie. Needless to say, Jackie's leg was broke. She broke Jackie's leg. Paula has never publicly staged for the first half of the tour. In 1987, Michael Jackson released the album Bad. The third single was The Way You Make Me Feel. The music video featured a young actress and dancer named Tatiana Thumbson. In the video, the song builds towards a kiss at the end. The director asked Tatiana not to actually kiss Michael. Michael was way too shy for that. So the director said, at the final shot, just give him a hug. The next morning, Tatiana received a phone call from Michael's manager that she was no longer on the tour. She was being replaced. Her replacement was singer Sheryl Crow. Tatiana was never told why. She never spoke to Michael again. The official explanation given was much later by the people in Michael's orbit. It was that she was becoming too much of a distraction, that Michael actually did like her. He liked her a little bit too much. Michael's management and the family, especially Catherine, was protective of his
Throw the
image.
whistle.
There was a fear that a high
Throw the
profile real
whistle.
girlfriend would humanize him too much,
Whistle.
shatter the Peter Pan mystery
Throw
that
the
so
whistle.
seconds. If Michael did
Throw
indeed
the
have a
whistle.
crush on her, she was a threat to the band's control over him. The other woman in Michael's life was Brooke Shields. They met at the 1981 Academy Awards when she was 16 and he was 22. They say
Why is he dating these young ass girls? Let me calculate this. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. He was 6 years older than her. He dating all these young women. I never knew these. I never knew this. He coming off kind of suspicious, but I don't know. I'm not gonna say he. I'm not gonna. We're not gonna speak on it because I don't know. To be honest with you. What is the light to this picture? Bro, if they don't get out this fucking car. Where is my drink at? Do you have the 00884? Mm-hmm.
Who describes Brooke Shields in an interview as one of the greatest loves of his life. He told Oprah that they dated, and he spoke about her warmly, repeatedly in the public. But Brooke has a different version. She has consistently said that they were close friends, but never romantic. She has described one specific moment in a car with photographers nearby where Michael leaned in to kiss her. She turned her head and said, "No, stop. We're just friends, and you need me as a friend." Michael Jackson, in his own telling, had a series of high-profile romances with some of the most famous women of the 1980s. The women themselves, in nearly every case, gently corrected the record as platonic relationships they had with Michael that had awkward romantic moments. In 1986, the National Enquirer ran a front-page photograph of Michael lying in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. The accompanying story was said that Michael slept inside the chamber every night to slow his aging and live up to be 150 years old. The story was fake. It was planted by Michael and his team. Michael had visited the Brotman Memorial Hospital, where he was treated for the Pepsi burns, and he saw the hyperbaric oxygen chamber and posed for a photo inside of it. Years later, the National Enquirer's editor confirmed in interviews that the photograph had been delivered to him by Michael's representatives. They gave the Enquirer the picture under two specific conditions. The story had to be run on the front page, and the headline had to use the word bizarre. Michael wanted to be perceived as strange. He believed that the mystery sold records. He had just released Thriller, the best-selling album of all time. He was now preparing the follow-up, which would be called Bad. And he believed that the more inscrutable he became, the more people would buy. The hyperbaric chamber story worked exactly as intended. It became a tabloid sensation. Then a few weeks later, a different story broke. The Sun in London reported that Michael had attempted to buy the skeleton of Joseph Merrick, the 19th century Englishman known as the Elephant Man, from the Royal London Hospital. The story was absolutely not true. He did not make any type of offer, but the same friendly tabloid orbit that had run the hyperbaric chamber story now ran the Bone story, and Michael could not get it back. The British press dubbed Michael Wacko Jacko, a name that stuck with his reputation, and he absolutely hated it. In 1988, on the album Bad, he released the song Leave Me Alone. The music video shows him pinned down by tabloid headlines and dancing past mounted hyperbaric chambers and Elephant Man bones in a theme park ride of his own scandals. The most endearing symbol of Michael's eccentricity in the 1980s was a chimpanzee. Sometime in the early 80s, Michael bought Bubbles from a Texas research facility. Bubbles was an infant chimp at the time and was raised at the Jackson family compound in Encino, then moved to Neverland Ranch in 1988. Bubbles was very close to Michael. He slept in a crib in Michael's bedroom. He used Michael's toilet. He ate candy in a Neverland movie theater. He flew on private planes. He even wore matching outfits with Michael. But by 2003, Bubbles had grown up. Adult chimpanzees are extremely strong, often aggressive, and are not safe to keep as pets, a fact well known by primatologists. Bubbles eventually started attacking the staff at Neverland. He had to be removed. He was sent to a California animal trainer. When the trainer's facility closed in 2004, he was relocated to a sanctuary called the Center for Great Apes in Florida. He has lived there ever since. According to the sanctuary's founder, Michael was making plans to visit bubbles when he died in 2009. In March 1989, the third oldest Jackson sister appeared on the cover of Playboy magazine, topless and holding a python. LaToya Jackson was 32 years old. She had grown up in the strictest households, and her mother was Jehovah's Witness, who had raised her children to abstain from alcohol, drugs, and premarital sex. The first Jackson child had not been allowed to pose in a bathing suit on television. Now LaToya was on the cover of Playboy. The issue became one of the best-selling editions in Playboy history. It was reprinted, and it made LaToya briefly an international sex symbol. The family's reaction was pretty uniform. Catherine had said publicly that she could not believe it, and it was said that Michael was pretty furious. He told an interviewer privately that LaToya had said in a promotional interview that Michael had given her his blessing, and that it was a lie. He told his mother he would not speak to LaToya. When Janet gave her input about the situation, she said that she thinks the guy that LaToya is with has brainwashed her. That guy was Jack Gordon. Now, Jack Gordon was LaToya's manager. By 1989, he was about to become her husband. LaToya would later on allege under oath that he was abusing her. She would say he beat her and that he isolated her from her family. She also said he forced her into appearances, make statements, and decisions she would never have made on her own. Years later, Playboy published a second issue of LaToya, which she said she actually refused. But, according to her, Jack beat her into submission until she agreed. This was not the worst thing that he made her allegedly do. The worst thing still had yet to come. LaToya had published a memoir titled LaToya Growing Up in the Jackson Family. The book was being promoted by the second Playboy spread, and it became a New York Times bestseller. In the book, LaToya accused her father, Joe, of physically and sexually abusing her and her siblings. The accusations were the most explosive thing any Jackson had ever said publicly about another Jackson.
I must tell you that this is very difficult for me. That Michael is my brother. I love him a great deal, but I cannot and I will not be a silent collaborator of his crimes against small, innocent children. And if I remain silent, then I mean that I feel the guilt and the humiliation that these children are feeling, and I think it's very wrong. I have seen checks payable to the parents of these children. And I don't know if these children were apparently bought to the parents by Michael or not, but I have seen these checks, and I've seen these checks through my mother. She showed me these checks that Michael had written to these children, and it's for a great amount. And I'm not speaking pennies. The sums are very, very large amounts. And this is my first time talking about it, and I never wanted to speak about it. I never wanted to say anything about it, but I think it's sad because I am a victim myself, and I know what it feels like. And these kids are going to be scarred for the rest of their life.
The benevolent show business father became a predator. Years later, after LaToya escaped Jack Gordon's control, after their divorce, LaToya gave a different account. She said that Jack had inserted his own claims into her manuscript. She said that she had not written some of the most damaging accusations, and she claims that Jack had threatened to kill her family if she did not put her name on the book. In her 2011 follow-up memoir, Starting Over, LaToya formally retracted the parts of growing up in the Jackson family. She said that they were not her words. She had spent the last 3 decades doing public penance for a book that was, by her own account, partly written under coercion.
Scarred for the rest of their life.
During the time of your marriage, you accused Michael of being a.
Yes, but I cannot and I will not be a silent collaborator of his crime. Gordon gave me this piece of paper and he says, read this. Sissy, you better say this. You say this.
Jack Gordon forced you to say that your brother was a. Did you think he was?
No, I did not. The courts have proven that too as well.
The family retaliated by shutting her out. The reconciliation took years. By the time Michael's funeral hit in 2009, LaToya was inside the family again, but her reputation had never fully recovered. While LaToya was having abuse issues within her marriage, the youngest Jackson brother, Randy, was also doing the same to his wife. In 1991, Randy was charged with battery. The victims were his wife, Eliza Jackson, and their 7-month-old daughter. Randy pleaded no contest. He was placed on 2 years probation and ordered into a mandatory domestic violence intervention program. 10 months later in November, Eliza called the police again. The beating, she told them, had not stopped. Randy was arrested a second time. He was sentenced to 30 days in Pine Grove Hospital.
It's atrocious. It's committing atrocities. beating your wife, acting promiscuous, not glamorous to beat and batter your wife, let alone your pregnant.
I was gonna say she just a snake.
It's not something that you can look up to.
Her name is Eliza Jackson, wife of youngest Jackson brother Randy, or perhaps we should say soon to be ex-wife, because this is one Jackson insider who says he now wants out.
What broke up the marriage was his promiscuity and his beating and battering.
Randy has never publicly addressed these incidents. He has, in years since, become one of the most outspoken Jackson siblings.
Somehow her actual face is overweight. Okay. Oh, that's the wrong one. I can't stand how she thinks she cute eating that stupid Taco Bell. Okay. She lonely, so she forced us to listen to her. Okay.
On questions of the family ethics. He has accused his brother of betrayals, he has accused the executors of Michael's estate of fraud, and he accused Janet's ex-husband of abuse. In 1991, Jermaine released a solo album titled You Said. The third track on the album was called Word to the Bad. The lyrics were shots at his brother. Some of the lyrics sang, reconstructed, been abducted, don't know who you are. Once you were made, you changed your shade. Was your color wrong? The song was a public attack on Michael about his skin color, his face, his choices, and his fame. It charted though, but not really high. It peaked at number 88 on the R&B chart and number 78 on the Hot 100. In his 2011 book You Are Not Alone, Jermaine claimed that the original, more vicious lyrics had been written by his co-writers, that he had recorded them in a moment of frustration. He felt Michael was ignoring his phone calls and had stolen a production team, which is L.A. Reid and allegedly Babyface. So he was a bit jealous, and that he did not know who leaked the rough version to the public, which included a reference to Michael being lonely and a sucker. He then re-recorded a softer version for the official album. His plan to draw buzz for his album didn't work, as the single was a commercial failure. Michael never publicly responded to the diss, but he really didn't have to. By the early 90s, Jermaine's solo career was effectively finished. Michael was about to release Dangerous, his fourth solo album, which would sell more than 30 million copies worldwide. The most tangled love story in the Jackson family belongs to Jermaine. In 1973, Jermaine married Hazel Gordy, the daughter of Berry Gordy, founder of Motown Records. The marriage was the reason why Jermaine stayed at Motown when his brothers left. Jermaine then started an affair while still married to Hazel with a woman named Margaret. He told Margaret he was leaving Hazel, and he told her that they would be together forever. He fathered 2 children with her, Jeremy and Jordan, and he did not leave Hazel until 1988. Margaret eventually understood she had been lied to. In 1995, she published a memoir, Jackson Family Values, Memories of Madness. It is the source of nearly every Jackson family scandal we know about from this era, including the parking lot incident with Enid and Paula. Just weeks after his divorce from Hazel was finalized, Jermaine got married again. The new wife, Alejandra, was Randy Jackson's ex-girlfriend. Alejandra had 2 children with Randy. She She also, according to multiple Jackson family accounts, had an affair with Randy while Randy was married to Eliza. Now she was Randy's brother's wife. Randy didn't speak to Jermaine for years. He has called the marriage a betrayal. The two brothers eventually reconciled, and they appeared together at Michael's funeral in 2009. In August of 1993, the department announced a criminal investigation into Michael. The allegation was that Michael had a 13-year-old boy named Jordan Chandler at his Neverland Ranch and at hotels in Las Vegas, Monaco, and Florida. The accusation came from Jordan's father, Evan Chandler, a Beverly Hills dentist and screenwriter. The Chandler family had become so close to Michael over the previous year, and Jordan had stayed at Neverland. The investigation was bigger than anything Michael had faced. In December 1993, in compliance with the court order, Michael submitted to a strip search at his Neverland home. Police photographed his naked body. They documented the patches of vitiligo on his skin, including his genital area. The criminal case stalled. The district attorney was unable to bring charges Jordan was willing to testify to. The Chandler family then filed a civil lawsuit. In January of 1994, Michael and the Chandlers reached a financial settlement. The exact number has never been confirmed. Reporting from that time placed the figure between $15 and $25 million.
God
Michael and his
damn.
legal team made one thing very clear at the time, and they have continued to make it clear since. The settlement was not, in their telling, an admission of guilt. They said that Chandler's had wanted only money. They said Michael had paid to make the case simply go away.
And it isn't so. Why did you settle? Why did you settle the case? And it looks to everyone as if you paid a huge amount of money.
That's most of that's
to get
folk.
signed.
I talked to my lawyers and I said, "Can you guarantee me that justice will prevail?" And they said, "Michael, we cannot guarantee you that a judge or a jury will do anything." And with that, I was like catatonic. I was outraged.
How much money?
Outraged. So what I said, I have got to do something to get out from under this nightmare. All these lies and all these people coming forward to get paid in these tabloid shows, just lies, 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 lies. So what I did, we got together again with my advisors and they advised me, it was hands down, a unanimous decision, resolve the case. This could be something that could go on for 7 years.
How much
We
was
said, let's get it behind us. It's not what the tabloids have printed. It's not all this crazy outlandish. No, it's not at all. I mean, the terms of the agreement are very confidential.
Michael had maintained until his death that he was a victim of extortion. His private investigator famously released tapes of Evan Chandler discussing his plan to destroy Michael if he didn't get a career-making deal.
Beyond nightmares. So one more record. I interviewed several, and I picked the nastiest son of a bitch. I make that phone call. This guy is just gonna destroy everybody in sight. Any devious, nasty way that you're in full authority to do that. To be that. I don't get what. If I go through with this, I win big time. I will get everything I want. They will be destroyed. They will be destroyed. As soon as you lose Jordy, you will have no right to ever see him again. That's a fact, Dave. That's what career will be over. Career will be over. That's irrelevant.
In the middle of the criminal investigation, LaToya held a press conference in Tel Aviv, Israel. She stood on a podium and read a piece of paper. She has stated in her memoir, Starting Over, and numerous interviews, that she was physically abused and that Jack had threatened to have her family killed if she did not read the script he wrote. As the years went by, she has stated time and time again that that day was the worst moment of her life. She has publicly supported him during his trial and has been a defender of his legacy ever since. In 1994, Michael married Lisa Marie Presley. He was 35 and she was 26. The wedding took place in the Dominican Republic at a private home in Casa de Campo. The ceremony was a secret and there was no formal announcement. Lisa had just recently filed for divorce from her first husband. The divorce had been finalized one day before the wedding. For 3 months, the marriage was not public. Then, in September 8, 1994, at the MTV Music Video Awards, Michael walked out on stage holding Lisa's hand. He looked at her, looked at the audience, and said, "You think nobody thought this would last?" He kissed her, and the kiss was long and very public. The audience gasped, and the critics called it staged. Among the press and the industry and Lisa's own friends, the entire marriage was a public relations effort to rehabilitate Michael's image after the Chandler settlement. Lisa has, in years since, given a complicated account. She said that the marriage was real, and she said she did love him. She also said he was too emotionally immature to be a parent.
And Michael Jackson, you were married to him for how long? What? 2 years, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And was he as strange then as he is?
I left.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Lisa admitted that she was terrified of having his children because she saw how he handled his world. She realized that if they did divorce, he would likely try to control the children entirely, stating how she knew his nature and saw the calculating side of his personality. She stated that she had imagined what would happen if they had children, and she had pictured a country like